Do y'all hear that? Oh my gosh. Oh, I love Jamaica. I love Jamaica. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I am so excited about because guys, I am in Jamaica. Disclaimer, I just want to let you guys know you probably will hear sounds like that and sounds like that because I am outside. The security camera at the Airbnb beeps, and then also too it's going to be breeze, it's going to be animals, you might hear kids playing and things like that. So I do apologize for the audio interference in advance, but I feel like, hey, we're in Jamaica, you might as well embrace the environment. It is also an absolutely beautiful day today. I'm also sitting across from a beautiful mango tree. It is so plentiful, so hardy. There's even little baby mangoes on it already. I wish they were in season so I could eat some and taste some. I know they would be absolutely delicious, but for right now, they're just amazing to look at. I wanted to come outside, sit down, enjoy the day, kind of have a one-on-one chat with you guys about one of the questions that I get asked a lot, and that is, how in the world did I save $20,000 to buy a home in Jamaica, and let alone try to expatriate there? So I'm going to tell you guys that story. Hopefully from that you can get some tips and tricks if you guys are interested in doing the same. I also have a book, How to Buy a House in Jamaica, that's now available on Amazon and PDF if you want a more in-depth thing about the home buying process. But for now, today's video is just going to be my story, how it all started, and how I saved the money. This story begins with a 22-year-old Anani. I was living on my family's off-grid community. I had been there for years, and it got to a point where, although the off-grid way of life is a beautiful way of life, it is a fulfilling way of life, it was becoming very stressful, and the environment in itself was more toxic for me than it was good. There were 8 of us total on the off-grid community. My mom, myself, and the other women on the land. Being off-grid was more of our dream, right? I think the men on our land, they went along with it, but I don't think that it was something that they really truly wanted to do. When you have a group that some people are on board and some people are not, it causes strife, it causes issue. Being on one accord is very important. And like I said in one of my other videos about off-grid living, that is why I put it at the very top, to make sure your group is harmonious. What ended up happening was, I think the men on the land kind of got tapped out, right? I think they kind of got they're a bit over the concept, I think, of off-grid living and kind of what exactly comes with it, you know, and what it entails, and the certain level of care that you have to put into it. And I think that at a certain point, they just decided, like, no, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, however this land is looking right now, we're just going to let it look like that. You know, we don't really care about putting in effort or anything. So that was the male perspective. And then the female perspective, again, this was more of our dream, right? So we're like, no, we need help. We need to do this. We need this. Come on, there's tasks we have to do. But you can only say so many words, right? You can only ask someone to do something so many times. So after a while, you know, we started seeing that, okay, you know, they're tapped out, you know, they don't kind of want to do it anymore. So it's up to us, right? So the women ended up having to do work that our bodies were physically not capable of handling. In regard to myself, I won't sugarcoat it, I broke my body down. I inflamed anything you can think would be inflamed, I inflamed it. I have rotator cuff issues, and I ended up hurting that even further. I had some health issues that ended up getting exasperated, and it was because I and the other women were trying to overcompensate, you know. We would ask for help, wouldn't get it. You know what I'm saying? And so living off grid, somebody has to care, right? Somebody has to care, or else it's miserable. It's a miserable, it can be miserable. So, and being forced into that position, like I say, it caused a lot of stress. It triggered quite a depression as well. And like I say, I got to a point where the environment, like I say, was not healthy. So my mom, she saw that, she had told me, stop, like I love you. I appreciate the help, but you are breaking your body down. You need to take a step back. So it came to a point where I came to the thing of, okay, I think maybe I need a vacation. Mom 100% supported it. She is actually even the one that gave me the funds to even do it, because like I say, she saw that I was, that I needed it. I needed the break. So we looked into places of kind of where to go, and I knew I needed an extensive vacation. And Jamaica came up on Jamaica. I'd never been out of the country before. And so I was like, you know what? I think this is the place I want to travel to. I love the beach. I love the water. And again, I consider islands, one ginormous beach, so I honed in on Jamaica, and I was even trying to back out, when the time had come. And my mom was very supportive, and she never pushes. She has a way. She never pushes or forces, but she tries to she lets you make your own choice. Of course, hoping you make the one that's best for you. And she won't let you go into danger, but, she was very encouraging. Like, I know you want to back out, but I really think you need to do this. But of course, I support you. And, and of course, eventually I said, you know what? Yes, I can do it. I was terrified. I was trembling on the plane. Like you guys know, I hate airplanes. I hate flying. But I was so proud of myself. It was my first international trip. And I ended up staying for a month. So I booked an Airbnb in February 2022 in Claremont, which is in St. Anne Parish in Jamaica. And I went, and to say that it was life-changing, I think would be the understatement of the century. I absolutely fell in love with the island. Kind of who I am, when I'm going to places or I'm traveling somewhere, I don't want to be in the tourist area, or an area that's typical for tourists. You think of Jamaica, you think of Montego Bay, right? You think of Negril, you think of, you even think of parts of Kingston as well, like when you think of Jamaica. But I wanted to go to a place where I could experience what it's really like in Jamaica, what it's really like in a real town, that's not necessarily catered to tourists, that's more so real, raw, authentic Jamaican experience. So I went to Claremont, and it was this little town in Claremont that I stayed, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. It was raw, it was real, it was authentic, it felt like home, it felt freeing, it felt liberating. And I knew that I had to be in Jamaica. I loved it. It meshed with my spirit. It meshed with my body chemistry. I was happy. My anxiety even, you hear Jamaica, and sometimes the media and the news portrays it like it's just this, beat 'em up boys kind of a town. And like I say, everywhere, there's places that you do and do not want to go. But also, too, if you look into Jamaica, you'll see that a lot of, if there's any violence, it's mostly gang related between each other. Like, they don't just like go and commit acts of violence, like, on civilians. You know what I'm saying? So, like I say, it's a bit misconstrued, because anytime I've come to Jamaica, for the most part, like I say, sometimes you'll see people that are like, there's an American, sort of a thing. But for the most part, I have had the most beautiful, most friendly experiences than I've had anywhere, America included. And I always say this because it's amazing to me that you cannot know somebody. I'm even like tearing up right now. because of even the experience that I'm having right now, that it's amazing how you cannot even know someone, but they exude this level of warmth, you know, and this level of like family, you know. Like I said, I'm sorry, I'm tearing a little bit, but I think it's a beautiful thing, right? Like to feel like you're like these people's like little cousin, or you know what I'm saying, or even some of them like their daughter or something, and they take you in and they check on you, they make sure you're good. Even when I was in Claremont, you know, they some of them would call me Texas or foreign, and they would be like, "Oh, I got some. I went to go and I got you some apples, foreign. I got you some plantain, Texas." You know what I'm saying? And they just make sure you are cared for. You know what I say? You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, I think that's a beautiful experience, because in America, that level, I think, of community and friendliness, that level of warmth, America and its systems, and like I said, we'll talk about that even in other videos, it be very cold, a very cold place, a very cold environment where you feel like it is just you against the world. So to enter into an environment where, like I said, even you're surrounded by your people, Black people. Like I said, of course, you'll see some people, and it takes a minute to warm up to Americans. You know, I'm not going to sit here and lie. So sometimes, you know, you will get one of those. But like I say, for the most part, the kindness that I've experienced has so greatly outweighed anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a beautiful thing. So, like I say, when I left Jamaica the first time in 2022, I immediately started to say, how can I get here? How can I get here? At that time, I had never had a job before. I was still living with my parents. And so I said, what in the world? So I figured out that I'm going to have to step up and be a big girl, right? I'm going to have to lock in. I'm going to have to lock in. Okay, so here's the thing. So I grew up quite sheltered. Not in a controlling, like, weird way per se, but I was sheltered. I had never worked a day in my life. I never worked a day in my life, and I'm not even trying to say that like no, like I didn't even really have to exercise my independence, because like everything, like if I needed anything, my mom would do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, or if I had to do something, maybe my dad could go and do it. You know what I'm saying? So I never had to like exercise a certain level of independence. So I'm like, how in the world am I going to even find a job? I was living off grid at the time. So I knew that finding a job that I could save enough money to go to Jamaica, it probably wouldn't be in the country. I would probably have to move back to the city. And I actually ended up doing that. So I moved back to Houston. I was fortunate and privileged enough where I did not have to pay rent because I stayed with family. So I did not have to pay rent at all. I do know that that is, like I say, a privilege. I know everybody can't do that. If you are trying to do something like I am doing and you are wanting to save money, but you can't live rent free, that's totally fine. But I would recommend trying to find a roommate. Do not take on all the bills yourself, because bills are the biggest eater of savings. Do not take on bills yourself. Try to find a roommate. Or if you are staying with family, but they require rent, then, that's fine. But just try to like negotiate, okay, I can pay this, I can pay that, and see if you can find something that works for you so that you're able to save a bit of money. I have never worked before, so I did not have a work history. I did not graduate, so I don't have a degree. So I knew that I would have to get a service job. I went on my first job interview. My first job interview was for a lash place. I forgot what it's called, but it was for lashes, like a receptionist or something. I didn't get that job. Then I interviewed at a spa. They did call me back for that job, wanted to give me that one, but I actually turned it down for the last job that I interviewed for, which was Massage Envy. So I took that job. They had promised me originally that I could be full-time, but then of course, as I got on, it was like part-time, which was not quite what I needed. But I was making $10.50 an hour. And I was working maybe like 24 hours in a week, and it was bi-weekly pay. And I'm like, this is just not what I need. I was a bit disheartened because, like I say, I was happy that I got my first job and I could save money for Jamaica. But I was like, this is nowhere near kind of what I'm needing. It's not the hours or the pay that I need. So I decided to look for another job. And I found one, and I was actually a counter sales girl for a bakery. So at this bakery, I ended up making $12 an hour. I was able to work full time, which is what I needed. And on top of that, this particular job also had tips, so you could get tips. So that is something that I would also too recommend. You can definitely achieve this with a service job, but don't do a service job that's just hourly. Try to find one with a nice hourly plus a tip commission, because what happened is I would make my regular pay and it would be multiple days where I would walk out with $100 extra. Like when I would work holidays and stuff like that, I think at one point in time I had an extra $1,000 just from just based off of the tips. So I was a counter sales girl for about a month. And then they offered me a promotion to supervisor. I turned that down. And then 2 months later after that, they offered me a assistant manager position. I accepted that. And then 2 to 3 months after that, they offered me to become manager of my own store location. So this bakery that I work for, they had multiple locations. And I was actually one of the fastest growing employees. I'm not going to say the fastest because, don't quote me on that, but definitely one of the fastest growing employees. Like I put in a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, and I really did love my job. I really did. That's another story time for another day, exactly what happened with that. But I really did love my job. I took it very seriously, and I would recommend that too for you guys out there. Just because you're working a service job, do try your best, because there is a benefit. I never knew it until I started working, but there is a benefit to kind of climbing that ladder. Every time I got promoted, I got a pay raise. So again, that's more money into the pocket of my Jamaica savings. And then eventually when I became a manager, I ended up being a salary worker. So I even got a bump in pay with that, plus, my tips still. Okay, guys, sorry, I had to change locations. It was getting a bit too noisy at the front where I was, so now I'm in the back. But if I remember correctly, I was saying basically try your best, no matter what job you have, even a service job, because climbing the ranks definitely does help you out monetarily in the long run, and you can hit your savings goals way faster. Now, once I had the job, I was making the money that I was needing to make. I knew that in order to reach my goal, I would have to save kind of drastically. So what I did with each paycheck, I was saving 70% of each paycheck that I got. Now, again, I know that is quite a bit ambitious. And I also know that, again, people have bills, right? Not everybody can just live rent-free like I was living. I totally understand that. So if you are not able to save 70% of each paycheck, I would still shoot for 30 to 40% if possible. I know even sometimes that can be a bit ambitious, but again, if you want to hit your savings goal, you need to save something. Let's just say worst case scenario, you can't, but you can save at least $20 per paycheck. Do that. Because if you don't put at least 1 foot forward towards your budget for Jamaica, it's just not going to happen. So that's what I started doing. And also too, what I would highly, highly, highly recommend, you need to open a savings account. Now, I had one at the time with First National, and then eventually I made a savings account with Chase Bank, and it is a lifesaver. I never understood why people would have it, but no, you need to do that so you can put all of your, that scared me, sorry. You need to do that so you can know when the money is in here, you don't touch it. And you need to be a bit disciplined and strict with yourself as well. Like, there's no double dipping. I know, of course, sometimes emergencies come up, okay, but no, when you have a savings account, what you put in that account, you leave it be you leave it be. So I highly recommend that. Like I say, I had one with Chase, and I actually love Chase. Like, that's actually my bank of choice. It helps me with my international travel and everything. Like, so I would recommend that. Now that I had the savings account, now that I had at least 70% of my checks going into that account, then I also too, I limited my spending. So for at least 6 months, I was a frugal doogle. Like, I was not buying anything in excess. Everything that I could spare on top of that, like, I was putting it like all into my Jamaica fund. So I would recommend that too. Like, lose the Uber Eats, lose the DoorDash, like, lose anything that you can let go of for 6 months. After that, I started like adding maybe a little bit more, pleasure, pause. After that 6 months, then I kind of loosened up on the frugality, but at least for 6 months, I would lock in, like really, really, really lock in, because what happened was when I did that, I had a great leg to stand on. So even if I was a little bit more excessive in the second half of the year, I still had a great foundation of money that I had saved, so that I wasn't, super in a squeeze. When it got around December of 2023, I was ready in January 2024 to start reaching out to the real estate agents, because I had the money for like the down payment and stuff like that. So I started searching for homes in my budget. Like I say, guys, I do have a guidebook on how to buy a home in Jamaica. It's an instructional guidebook. It takes you step by step by step, has my contacts, worksheets, the whole 9 yards. Link is in the description. You can buy it hard copy on Amazon, or you can buy it for PDF, $25 off. But anyway, so I did that process, reached out. I was able to put in the money that I needed to cover like the first half of the home buying process. So the initial lawyer retainer fees and all of that. And then by June, yeah, don't quote me on that, but around that area, I had saved up the other half to finish out, the closing costs and stuff like that. Even though, like I said, and I won't even sugarcoat it, like I definitely was in a situation that facilitated me being able to do this. So I don't take it for granted that this experience, I did have privilege in this experience, but I do want to emphasize the point of, in any situation you're in, if you want something and you work hard to achieve it, it is very possible. Even in my journey, there were still ups and downs and highs and lows and times where I even had saved money, but again, chunks of it had to go because family emergencies and stuff like that. So it wasn't all roses. I still did have to work for what I wanted. I had to be disciplined in what I wanted. And if you're wanting to do a similar thing, whether it's move to Jamaica like I am, or another Caribbean island or wherever, if you bunker down and put the mindset on it and dedicate your energy to it and do not waver, be disciplined, even if you have to, spend money here or there, but you immediately go back to the plan, you can achieve it too. And like I say, you can even get here just with a regular schmegular job. Like, you don't have to, be a doctor and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, in a year to do this. You know what I'm saying? You have to be smart. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't just jump in head first with no plan. That's not what I'm saying. But, yeah, like, even you can do it. If you're working at McDonald's, even you can do it. You know what I'm saying? I was a counter girl. I worked at a bakery. Jobs that people wouldn't just immediately think like, oh, you could buy a house on that. You know what I'm saying? But you can. You actually really can. It's just depending on the level of your situation, you might have to do certain things. Although right now I am actually at an Airbnb, so this is not my house. However, guys, do stay tuned. I do have an unfurnished house tour coming soon, so you guys can finally see my home. You guys have been so patient, and I'll also too, guys, let you know in an upcoming video my plans and everything. I absolutely love this island. I love this island. I love its people. I love its culture. That is a wasp. No, it's not. Okay, that's not a wasp. I get so much energy from this island, and I do plan to return that energy unto it. You know what I'm saying? Like, once I get established and settled and I'm fully on my feet in Jamaica, I have plans to even try to make even Jamaica better. You know what I'm saying? And not even on like a savior complex kind of a tip, but it's more so like we're just wanting to give back to it. You know what I'm saying? Like looking around in my community and seeing what they're in need of, seeing what businesses they're in need of, seeing the common complaints I hear, you know what I'm saying? And trying to work towards helping it. I get energy from this island and I want to return it back to it. I get energy from the people by people watching and seeing them do their thing and seeing them laugh, and the kids going to school, and you know, the culture, the music, and you know, them doing their jobs. I pull energy from that. You know, it does something for me to people watch and see how they interact with their environment. And in return, like I say, I want to even give back to the people, give back to the community. So I have a lot of plans upcoming. I have a lot of things we're doing. I'm very excited to be here. From now and for a few months, I'll be going back and forth and back and forth. And you guys will be following along the journey the whole time. It's going to be a great one this year. And I'm very excited. I'm happy to be in Jamaica. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. And not just buy 1 pound or 2 pounds, buy about 8 pounds. And as you guys know, Spirit Airlines does not play that. So I ended up